Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Creative Insider in 2021. So, Happy New Year, everyone. We managed to survive one of the hardest years. So, yeah, here we go with the first episode for the new year. And I'm glad to announce that my first guest for this year is a friend of mine. He's called Federico Minelli. And I think we had a very interesting chat because he attended a double degree course or class in architecture at the Politecnico Milano in Italy. And then he went to Shanghai. So he got a double degree. And that was in the end of 2019 to the beginning of 2020. For obvious reason, of course, you're going to hear the full story. And I think it was a very interesting talk about the dialogue between two so different cultures and the way to study architecture in two different societies, so to say. And he has had experiences also here in Germany, in Frankfurt. We have studied for a little while together. And then he went for very short internship in Paris, France. So yeah, it was very interesting to talk to him. And before we start the podcast, I can remind you that in the end of this month, we will be sending our first newsletter with a recap of the podcast episodes which were released this month. So if you want to have some bullet points from each episode to remind you how it was or what were the topics, you can just join our email list in the link of the description of the podcast. There will be a link to join our creative tribe. And of course, keep supporting the podcast on the social media channels, which are LinkedIn and Facebook, The Creative Insider, and on Instagram at TCI Podcast. Thank you very much and enjoy the first podcast of 2021. And Happy New Year again.
The whole world stops just like that.
Hello, Federico. How are you doing?
Hi, Georgi. I'm good, thank you. What about you?
We're bored a little bit, close in home here in Frankfurt. There's this sort of full lockdown. Everything's closed. But also it was nice to relax a little bit of work and just read books, enjoy ourselves, cozy home. Where are you now? In which part of the world are you now?
Now I'm in my house in Foligno in Italy, and yes, I'm taking this opportunity as you doing to be like a bit chilling with my family, with my friends if it's possible. Not right now actually, and yes, I'm here in Italy, stuck as everybody, I guess.
No, but it's cool to talk to you because we know each other personally. We have studied for a semester together here in Frankfurt. And then you went back to Italy. I stayed here. I kind of followed you a little bit what you were doing, but then it got too cluttered. You did too many things. So I have to recap a little bit of your career, life, studies, and etc. So if you want, you can introduce a little bit yourself to the audience because the people don't know you yet.
No, they don't know for sure. And yes, I will introduce myself then. And I don't have to introduce myself as with the name, I guess, but more academically. And yes, now I'm studying in Politecnico di Milano in architecture, built environment, and interiors. That was actually one of the three main course of study there. And I'm studying in a master program. And actually, I'm the last year, so I have to do just my thesis, basically. So I am pretty done with it, with my academic career, at least from for now.
But there is a particularity about your studies. You have you're doing sort of a double degree, right?
Exactly. And I would first, maybe it's better to say that my first thing that I did outside Italy was not a the double degree. It was basically my third experience abroad. My first two were the first where I met you in Frankfurt in 2017, I guess, and the other one was the year after, where I applied for Erasmus Plus for traineeship in Paris, in Atelier Patrick Cordin, for about three months, where I just worked for them. It was great experience, first because it was Paris, and Paris is an amazing city, and then because I learned a lot. I learned how it means to work in an office, because it was my first time there. And then after that, I basically did in my bachelor. I applied when I was in Polymy to this double degree program, and I went to China in 2019, and I came back in 2020.
But which university in China is the partnership with?
Yes, my university in China was the Tongji University in Shanghai, and is I think is the only university of architecture in Shanghai, and is the second most known university after the one in Peking.
Very cool. So now we have a little bit of overview about your experiences in all over around the globe. But I'm curious because I always say that to my friends, to all the people who participated on the podcast so far, which I know personally. The greatest opportunity of this podcast is that you have this time to chat with someone that you know, but you also don't know, because you never have like a structured conversation with your friends about how they started doing what they do and why they're doing it. So I'm curious to know, to start in the beginning, at which moment in your life you were thinking about, okay, I think I'm going to study architecture, or why you wanted to take the path of the designer career.
This question make me a bit making fun, because sometimes people tell you, okay, I started to do like architect because I was building with Lego when I was a child, but from my point of view, it was not like that. And yes, I played Lego, I enjoyed very much, but it was not the trigger that made me describe myself to the University of Architecture. And I actually discovered this world of architecture when I was about 17 or 18 years old, when I was in my high school. My high school was actually a technical school, where we were brought to design things, and was just a bit interested to this kind of world. And then my professor of design there introduced me a bit kind of more to this world. So I was like in between to take engineering and then architecture. That was my big kind of choice. But then I really actually followed after my high school degree, kind of amount of engineering school, and I was like, okay, no, this is not for me. And then I passed the exam for architecture faculty, and then I entered there, and I found something that was pretty more interesting than from me at least than engineering. And yes, that's basically what I did. It was more an introduction by my professor that made me really interested by the world of architecture. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. For example, I also was used to play Lego, but the main reason is that I could do this because my mom was kind of helping me how to pick what to study, and then I was thinking, okay, if I do something practical like architecture, as I'm drawn to drawing and to create things, it's a job that I can work internationally, and then I could move easily through another country because architecture is very similar. Like the people are the same size, more or less, in all around the world, and you can work it everywhere. So this is also like I had also like another guiding reason than just being drawn by Legos. But I think everybody like of our generation played Lego when they were kids. And how did you? So where did you study your bachelor?
Ma-
And how did you decide that university? What was your test to get in? How did that work?
Oh, so I studied in my bachelor in SAAD. That's basically I will tell you in Italian because I don't know in English if even there is an English name for that. And the Scuola of Architettura and Design of Eduardo Vittoria, that is in the Marche region, and actually is a university of Camerino that is still in the Marche, but it's not in the same place. So it is a bit tough to explain, but it's actually very easy to get. And the exam to get in Italy, there is this exam to get in architecture faculty as it is in medicine, and it's actually a bit tough to get to for example to Politecnico di Milano and university like that. So I was actually pointed to go in Ferrara University because there was like the 5 years faculty altogether without having this subdivision of bachelor and master. So for me was kind of interesting, this kind of approach to the university. But I didn't get in. So I was like, okay, I was a bit upset of myself at first, but then I entered in the other university in Ascoli Piceno, and I went there, and I was actually after that I was not anymore upset because I found a really small community there, and the professors were really good, amazing. Someone were really good, and I it was amazing that the university was so small, actually the smallest university in Italy, and yes, I started there and it was like a wave. I did all the 3 years having fun, but it was really tough because we were so few people in there that the professor were following us, each person. So it was really, really tough to go ahead, but it was really forming, and I am thankful for that actually.
Yeah, I hear that a lot from my guests that studied in smaller university, that it's counterintuitive because I studied in the biggest university in Europe, and you barely, if the professor knows you, like knows your name, it's already a success. And yeah, you have to deal more with their assistants and tutors instead of the professors. And what was focusing this university on? Like, what do you think it's the main, so to say, knowledge you gain there? Or yeah, because for example in Rome I had a mix of a little bit of everything, like and there was more focus on like architectural refurbishment and restoration of ancient buildings, because kind of Rome is the place. uh, so was there any focus you noticed when you were studying?
First, I guess that you're right when you say that your university were a mix of something, or a bit of everything at least, and I think it's mine was too. And I don't think it's actually a pity, but in the bachelor I think it's something that you should do. You should study at least a bit of everything to understand more, even this kind of uh, topics that are kind of mathematics, physics, these kind of things that at the end of your master you just forgot. But let's keep it between us. But I think that also my university introduced me a lot in the theory, and also a bit on the project of the refurbishment, of the restoration, and things like that. I really studied a lot this kind of topics. Yeah, but it was also focused on the technical side, but more maybe on the also on the developing of new buildings, things like that. The project was more on the new buildings, not that much on the restoration. The restoration uh, was more with the kind of it was more a study. Yeah, let's say that.
More theoretical, not that.
Theoretical, yes, exactly.
And was it like introducing this university? Was it like more um, introducing you to also like more modern, like sort of workflows, like I mean, software wise, like if you were introduced to any particular softwares, or how was that aspect? Because, for example, in Rome, the first year we were more like kept away from the CAD and the digital part of architecture, and then at the second year we only started getting introduced, but more or less we needed to self teach as any software we wanted to learn.
We had in the first year a course that was basically the first course that was talking about architecture, because the other were talking about, as I said, maths and physics and things like that. This course was about how to draw with the pencil, and how to draw with CAD, with AutoCAD, and with ArchiCAD. So we had this kind of two main topics, so pencil and AutoCAD. And it was actually quite nice because the professor were really good and were make us really interested by these faces of the same medal, let's say that. Because at the end I think that we are, as architects, we have to draw with both, it's really important.
Yeah,
And
sure.
yes, and we also did something like uh, a real drawing, when you go around and you sketch uh, churches and piece of architecture that you find everywhere, all around, and things like that.
Yeah, we did something similar. I mean, because very in the very proximity of our university building, we had so many buildings you could draw that in Rome it's pretty much full of like this. You can draw all the architectural styles you wanted to. And at what point in this first university experience you decided to um, go in Erasmus, and how exactly did you find Frankfurt? And yeah, how did it happen?
Erasmus. Why did I enter into this Erasmus mindset? This is a question that I ask myself, because actually I don't know how to tell you that, because it's stuff, I just submitted the form, because sometimes I was in my first year I was not that sure about what I was doing, because in the first year you're young. But I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, there are some places where to go, and my first choice was actually Frankfurt instead of Portugal University, or other places around Europe. And this kind of choice, um, I think Germany, and I think it too now, is a great place to understand better yourself and how you work and how you interact with people, because Germans, I like really my Germans. They are so precise, and it makes me understand everything. When you do something there, you have to understand it. You have to organize yourself when you do it, and yes, this is this is what I learned there and what I'm learning actually still from Germans.
But did you pick up just Frankfurt because it was available, or you knew something about the university, or you just went like randomly?
To the University of Frankfurt, I went because there was the only university in Germany. There was also Mainz, I guess. Yes, there was Mainz, the Mainz University. But I was like, okay, this is, I wanted to be in a big city because Ascoli Piceno it is so small, and I wanted to try something different. So I was like, okay, Frankfurt, Mainz. I will go for Frankfurt because it's big, and I wanted to know what does it mean to live in a big city because I didn't do it since that experience. So I was also driven by the city.
Yeah, it was funny because for me Frankfurt is a small city, and I know a lot of people who are like, "Oh, it's so big here." But if you remember, we had also a class. We did a class together. I think it was about building in wood, building something like that.
Massive Baukonstruktion.
Yeah, and we did like the presentation together about the skyscraper of Renzo Piano in Torino, like the San Paulo headquarters. Uh, I think we did pretty well.
Yes, yes, yes. They liked it. They liked it, our approach. Actually, was a section of the exam that presentation, a small section about the technology. Am I right?
Yeah, it was something like that. But I remember that in Rome they validated this exam to me like mathematics too, because we needed to calculate a little bit the structure of the building. I remember. And I said, here in Germany, they don't have pure mathematics. It's always applied. And I had the luck to have the professor who was responsible for me, who didn't really care about what I'm doing. So he was like, yeah, sure, that's mathematics too. So this is how I managed to pass mathematics too.
Actually, was it mathematics or like construction? This kind of.
Yeah, what's like, because here they had these three models where we had the technology, actually the project where we needed to design the details, and what is called, and then we had the calculation of the wooden structure or something like that. But there was some really basic like mathematics, like some basic divisions or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, this is true. I was pretty impressed by the easiness, may I say that, of this calculation, because in my university in Ascoli Piceno, we were so stressed about this kind of calculations mm, of construction calculation and so on. It was something that take us really a lot of time and effort to pass this exam. And it was really important to pass this exam because people there are not graduating even for a year because they don't pass the construction exam, and it's a bit different from your university and
Yeah,
from
yeah, I
France.
know. I know
Really
in
impressive.
Rome also, like you have to even learn a software to calculate the structures and bullshit like that, which is, in my opinion, it's like just they do it in Italy because it's more like it's highly possible that your career in Italy is like a freelancer and you have to do small projects where you are totally in charge of everything and you don't have engineers. So they teach you to do this stuff more, deeper, so that you can do it on a small project. But if you do like bigger projects, there is an engineering office that do all that shit for you. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just Italian way that like they maybe want to prepare you for a career where you can do a little bit of everything, and so that you can do that too. I don't know.
That's maybe true, but at the end, as an architect, I wouldn't even think to calculate a structure. It is too much. It's out of my possibilities. I mean, I didn't study that. I mean, engineering study how to calculate this kind of stuff, and I believe that they can do it better. And I believe also that in a project, we architect and engineering should cooperate to gain the highest possibility.
Yeah, and then I think the German approach was pretty cool because they were simply teaching you the principles, so that you really know how to use. For example, you know roughly how big is gonna be the structure or how you're gonna organize the loads, and then you can accordingly make your project so that it looks cool and it's combined with the structure you wanted. And yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
And then
true.
I then remember that you left Frankfurt. I stayed here then just to finish my thesis and to. I was working here and doing my thesis from here in Rome, and then you were already talking to me about Paris. And what did you need to take part in this Erasmus internship program? How did that work? How did you find the office?
So uh, my professor that basically introduced me a bit mm, of urban planning, I guess, told me that it was this possibility of a friend that could host one or two students in this office in Paris, and I had to to apply to the to the to the Erasmus Plus for traineeship. And I was like, yes, I mean, again, why not? I mean, I have this opportunity. My professor gave me the opportunity to do that because he knew that I was into international experience, because he knew that I went to Frankfurt for 6 months. And yes, that's basically, he introduced me to the office, and I had a talk with him, with the head of the architects in Rome, because he was actually Italian. And
What is the office called again? Sorry.
Atelier Patrick Cordin.
Okay, and okay, and you had this interview.
And I had to, yes, I had to, actually just a small talk, a friendly talk with him, and after 2 or 3 months, I went there for this experience that basically take me an amount of time, about 3 months before the start of my thesis, my bachelor thesis. It was pretty much hard because at the end I ran it a lot that time, because I finished all the exams, and then I started to go to Paris, and then I came back. I did my thesis, and I got graduated on 25th of July. It was kind of extremely, I don't know, well,
Stressful.
yeah, stressful, yeah, totally, as I remember. But it was cool, and it worth it a lot.
And so, how was working there? What kind of workflow you had? Like, did they use some different software, some different way of doing architecture than Italy? How
Uh,
was the French architectural life? Because you have a big overview now because you have been in Frankfurt, in Italy, in Camerino, and now you're in Paris also.
yes, and there they actually worked with software as ArchiCAD, AutoCAD, and Photoshop. And my workflow and workload was pretty high, and it was for the first, I guess, month or month and a half. I was doing like master plans, things like that. I was basically working a lot with Photoshop. After that, I was actually into a lot into designing, and I told to the head of the architect I wanted to be more into the design part, and he actually gave me also the design part of a complex. It was a residential complex in Paris, and actually this residential complex, after 1 year, uh, it passed the contest, a contest, because I didn't know that it was a contest, but I did it, and this went the second. It gained the second prize of the contest. So it was pretty nice, as a student to know all this kind of stuff. But it's also a really high workload because I had also to study some exams that I didn't do because the experience in Frankfurt. So at the end, when I came back to the work at the evening, I had also to study history of architecture. There was something a bit stressful, but at the end, I studied it in Paris. So it was also nice to think about that.
Nice. And after you completed this internship, by the way, you were paid by the Erasmus program. Were you paid also by the firm, or only the Erasmus? The Erasmus program was giving you some money.
Just the Erasmus program was giving me just really few money, yeah. But
How
at the end,
how,
sorry.
how was living in Paris? Like, was it expensive? How was or didn't you have? Because you said you were in stress because you needed to do in the same time working and studying for your thesis. Did you have time to enjoy a little bit the Paris life?
Yes, totally. Because at the end, at least on Saturday or Sunday, I was going around for museums or for art exhibitions like Fondation Cartier, things like that. I was so amazed, and I met the Ishigami works. I was actually really fascinating by that, by the city and the flow, the organization was. I mean, I want to go back actually in Paris because Paris is so nice city.
And where did you live? In which part of the city? Was it expensive? Was the money from Erasmus enough at least to pay the rent?
Unfortunately, there were not enough. I paid with the money, a monthly amount of money from the European. Erasmus was uh, was necessary to pay half of my rent, of my monthly rent. So it was not that much because at the
How
end,
much was the rent? Did you live in a shared flat or?
I lived in a room in a flat with a old woman. No, it was not that old. It was about 60 years old. But yes, I just took a room. It was expensive. Yes, it was because it was about 650 euros, and and yes, it was just a room with a small toilet, and the kitchen was shared with this woman.
Okay,
It
okay.
was
But that's
in the south of Paris.
was it far away from the city center or?
It was about half an hour far away from the city center and half an hour from the studio.
Mm. And the connection in Paris are good or it's very jammy, like traffic jam all the time?
I, I didn't experience that much traffic, and I believe it's a bit an issue, the traffic, but I guess it's an issue everywhere, the traffic. And
Yeah, yeah.
uh, but the subway is not bad. I like it. It's well connected, and I had it under my apartment, so it was pretty fast to get in.
So for you, maybe living in Paris could be an option in the future.
Why not? I'm up to do everything.
And then you finished. You stayed there 3 months. You said right?
Yes, 2 months and 20 days. Yes, was not actually 3 months, but yes, that's it.
Almost. Yeah. And then you completed your graduation very successfully, I guess. And what was your project for your bachelor thesis, or what did you need to do?
I need to do a project that was actually also a workshop because we had this 2 weeks intensive workshop with other students from Turkey, and I don't remember actually which university we are coming from, but it was about the earthquake because there in 2016, as I remember right, there was a huge earthquake that destroys a lot, like Amatrice and all these borghi, the small towns around the mountains, and we were asked to develop a place that was a museum, but also a storage for art pieces. It was pretty interesting.
Do you have somewhere? I was just thinking. Do you have somewhere a portfolio online of yourself, so that, for example, when we talk about these projects, maybe people later can go check your portfolio somewhere if it's all available online. I don't know.
So I got a portfolio on LinkedIn. You just have to type my name and surname, Federico Minelli, and it will
Yeah,
appear.
we will add all the links in the description of
Exactly.
the podcast, just so that I know it will
Uh,
be.
my thesis is not present in that portfolio because I wanted to to put my best work at the end after a master. You don't put anymore
Ah, okay.
or bachelor project because they were a bit.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it now. It's pretty cool. It's kind of hipster, like your look.
I think that's at the end when you work a lot and when you work and in the project always developing things and when you look back you're like what the hell did I do and but this is nice at the same time because at the end you grow up and this is what we need to do to grow up when we study, so I'm
No,
pretty.
it looks it's very cool. It's very well drawn, very cool. And what I wanted to ask is, you have very nice axonometrical drawings.
Thank you.
Which software did you use to do them?
Don't attack me, but to do the 3D I use AutoCAD. It make me a bit annoying because I didn't have time to learn how to use properly a rhinoceros, but I will do it for sure. I need to learn that. But for this kind of the 3D that I use to extract the axle, I use AutoCAD 3D. And then when I flat shot the axle, I put them into Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, and I basically work in there. I don't use
I
Photoshop.
I remember you were an illustrator guy,
Yeah,
very into illustrator, and then you did this in every project. You create sort of a chapter, and is that you have a texture? Is the whole portfolio also built in Illustrator or in Design, or where did you build it together?
sorry.
Where did you put together all the pages, in Illustrator also, or in Design?
These pages were the layout, let's say
Yeah.
that, were built in InDesign because to build everything in Illustrator is a bit crazy because Illustrator is not a program to do that, to do this kind of stuff. So if you want to do a book, I suggest you to use Adobe InDesign because it's made for that.
Yeah, exactly. But you have these nice textures, nice patterns as a background in the beginning of each project. Did you do them also, like sort of in Illustrator or in Design, or how did you do them?
I did it in Illustrator, and I actually, at the end you have this page, and you have, for example, an A4. You decide to make an A4 book. So you do an A4 in Illustrator, and you make this texture. Is actually a given texture by Illustrator uh, booklet, and you just take the texture and you make a PDF or just Adobe Illustrator and you drag it into an InDesign. So basically, you have same format but in InDesign. So if you want to change the texture, you just open through InDesign the file in Illustrator and you change everything you want. It's pretty easy and well connected and well organized work if you work with both Illustrator, actually also Photoshop as you want, and InDesign.
And I saw you did an Instagram account for the project, so that people can go like with what is called. they can check the project also on Instagram.
Do you mean the QR code in
Yeah,
a?
yeah.
This is an Instagram account that we made with my friend, with my mate, for to show a specific project that I did in my first year bachelor, a master, sorry, and
What is the
it was
account code?
sorry.
What is the account code? What is the name of this other?
Rappresent, I don't know how to say this trattino
No.
basso.
Oh, underscore.
Underscore duo. Exactly.
Represent or what is it? Duo.
Duo, yes, duo, because we were two, so duo.
No, but what is the first word in the account name?
Rappresent underscore duo.
Okay, I'm gonna try to. You can, even if I don't find it, you'll tell me later exactly. You send me the link, and then I will
Yes, I will be
add
happy.
it in the description, because I
But
think it's a nice visual work.
thank you. But there you cannot find every work that I did. It was just one exam, just one work, because our professor told us, okay, you working in a field with a topic that is a matter of technology and does matter of Facebook, Instagram, and social networks. So you should also consider to develop a the project through Instagram. And it was a nice approach because we had also lecture from let's say the people that work with social network, a YouTuber, things like that. And those people came in the university and teach us how to use properly Instagram. It was actually nice.
Yeah, that sounds something very modern and advanced. So it's cool. I will add the link to this Instagram account so that the listeners can go and check it out. And
Yes.
then after you completed your degree, you needed to apply for your master. So was Milano again the only option for you, which you wanted to go for sure, or were there many options?
Milan was my top option because I was like, okay, I need to do a step ahead. I want to go to a big university, to a known university, because at the end, in this world, uh, we should think also that we have an image. I mean, the image is important in this world, so we should also consider to work with our image. So Polyme was a known name and a really good university because I know people from there. I knew there before I applied there, and I was actually really motivated to get in. But it was quite difficult because I had to apply there, to do a portfolio, to do a CV, and a lot of things in a really small amount of time. Actually, I get graduated in the bachelor, and then in 5 days I had to do all this kind of stuff and applied to Polyme because the submission was set up for, I guess, 29th of June, of July, sorry. And I had to do it really fast. And it was so stressful. But I get in and I was so happy. And I'm thankful for
And
that.
is there when you do this portfolio I just saw, or you just did some other portfolio and then this one you did later?
Uh, this portfolio is based on that work, but it's way, way, way more developed.
I see. I see.
It
And
was structured. This is the point. Organized. So,
and now we're coming to the point where I'm very interested in, which is this double degree thing with
yes.
China. When you were applying for the university, was a specific sort of course of studies which you knew it was going to be international, or while we're already studying in Poli Milano, they were like, okay, you have this opportunity now, this chance, if you want to take program double degree, get a Chinese degree too. What was this this situation there?
Applied to Polyme, but I didn't know about this double degree program. So I discovered that about a half a year later. But because I was going, into the page of Polemy account, the Polemy account, private account, I was like, okay, let's see if there is something, Erasmus or something more developed. And I checked it, and I was like, a double degree. Oh, what is that? Let's check it. Why not? Why not? Let's check this. And I was like, there is this opportunity that it's amazing, because you can take a degree at 2 degrees and in 2.5 years. That is actually a time needed to get just 1 degree. I was like, okay, that's quite nice, because you can have an international opportunity. You can study 1 year abroad, and it's not abroad in Europe, it's abroad outside Europe. It is quite interesting for a student, because it can give you also new working possibility. So I was like dragged by this kind of vision. I was like, okay, wow, it's amazing. And the possibility were to go for my course were in Russia, in Chile, and also in Shanghai, China. And I obviously choose Shanghai, China, because I was so fascinated by this kind of world. I mean, from my point of view, is the more distant, not place, but kind of mindset from our. So
Sort
I
of a
like
culture,
that.
very distant culture, so to say.
Yes, totally.
And so your master degree was 2 years or 3 years? Like
My
master class? Yeah, the master.
My master is 2 years. Now I'm still going ahead with the master, because when you sign the contract for double degree, you have to sign it for 2.5 years. You have to add a half to write your Italian thesis, and to have the opportunity, if you didn't do it, to conclude your path. But I at the end, I did all my exams before to start the double degree, so I had just to do my thesis.
I see. And you stayed 1 year, you said, in China.
Let's say half a year, because I'm sure that we are into pandemic events, and when I was in China, yes, the pandemic came and destroyed everything. So after half a year, basically about 6 months, I had to go back to Italy, and didn't understand that much. That was how to say a solution. That's it. Okay, you have to come back to Italy. I was thinking still, okay, maybe I will go back China in a month or 2 months. But yes, I'm still hoping for that. After
Yeah, it's kind of like the wave arrived and stayed. I'm curious. So now that's the end of the journey, but let's begin at the beginning of the journey. So which month, which part of the year you're gonna leave for China? When was your ticket, like the ticket to go, booked?
I booked my ticket for August, the last days of August of 2019, and
And
I
and yeah.
no, go please.
Yeah, and you booked. And how did you organize everything? Because I mean, for me, it was hard to arrive in Frankfurt, which is just an hour away from from Italy by plane. And how did you like organize everything to get a room there? Did somebody pick you up at the airport? How was this whole? I mean,
Okay, I have
sounds kind of
goosebumps.
scary to me going to China. You know.
I have goosebumps if you want to talk about how to to organize everything, because it was so hard, so difficult. Because there it seems that don't speak that much English. So first it was a bit a mess because that, and then I arrived there. I was like, okay, I'm not into this culture, but it's not when you say that when you go in Germany, I'm not that into this culture there, you are not into that culture for real. This is, you are different. You are you are really, I guess, you feel that you are different. And this is quite interesting. And I was like, okay, I need to find an apartment because I went there without an apartment, without a room. I just put 2 weeks or 1 week and a half, say, hotel near my university because I had to sign papers and stuff like that, bureaucracy. And when I was there, I started to look for apartments and things like that. So after 3 or 4 days of apartment hunting, let's say that, I found an apartment really, really near to my university, and I just rented it. It was actually quite expensive, about 500 euros per month, but actually really nice. Was on the high-rise buildings because they are in China. I mean, it's full of high-rise buildings, and my room was facing the center of Shanghai, so I was looking for the skyscrapers and the light show all the nights. It was amazing, but it was so hard. The first weeks, at least, I guess 1 month was pretty hard to live there because I didn't know what to eat. I didn't know how to pay. I mean, these kind of basic things, because in China, you don't pay with cash. It's not the usual. Just tourists pay with cash. You have to pay with WeChat Pay. But for WeChat Pay, you need to apply for a bank account. It's so long. And I mean, I remember when I went there, and I was like, okay. After 1 day, I didn't eat because I didn't know where to eat. Really, I didn't know where to eat, and I was like, okay, let's look for something. I need to eat. I was eating for 1 day, just bananas. I was like, okay, maybe I need something better, some pasta and some noodles.
I know
And
I know you're a big fan of Uncle Ben's rice. I remember that when you were living here, that was the thing for you.
it's so good. You remember Uncle Beans? And
Uncle Ben's
anyway,
rice
yeah,
in a
I didn't want to eat Uncle Beans anymore, or that kind of really bad meals. And I went outside from my hotel, and I was looking for a small restaurant, something. I entered into this small boutique, and I was like, okay, this is all Chinese. Oh gosh, I don't know what I'm going to eat, because they didn't even speak English. So I was like, oops, I have a problem. But I decided I tried actually to convert in English the signs, the Chinese signs of the food, but it was like weird sentences. I was like, okay, I take this and this to the person that was in the cash in there in the kitchen, and she said, okay, and I sit myself there in the room, and this old woman came with this huge pots of dumplings, and I was like, okay, I took dumplings, now I know. But the point was, okay, what is inside the dumplings? And I started to eat them, and they were so delicious. They were I was really amazed by that. They were actually vegan dumplings, but it was not the point. And I was so fascinated by the food, by the Chinese food from that day, from actually the second dinner that I did there.
And how did you hunt this apartment? Like, did they have any website, or I don't know? How did you find the part? Where did you find this apartment?
There is a site, or maybe more than one, that are used by Chinese to sponsor the apartments, and also WeChat groups there where people can post the apartments that they have to even to sell or to rent.
Yeah, I know that they do everything with WeChat, which is crazy.
Yes, it's crazy. Yes, but this is another topic. First, the department, and yes, I went through this kind of sites, and yes, basically I called them, I typed to them, and I had some appointments, and basically that's it. I mean, but it was tough, you know. It seems to be really easy when you do. I mean, after you did it, it's easy, but when you do it, it's not that easy because you are into a place that you don't really know, into a society that you first don't really understand. At least me.
And after how long after you arrived in China, you started studying at the university?
I started after about a month. Yeah, because I went really early compared to my Italians mates and to
And,
other people.
and there, your classes were all with international students like you were, or there were also some local students which were uh, just attending the university in China? How was that organized? How was your environment there?
In Tongji University, in the Department of Architecture and Urban Planning, you have two main kind of courses. So one is for internationals, isn't not for international, it's international course, and the other one is Chinese one. So if you know Chinese, you can also apply for the Chinese one. But I didn't know Chinese because Chinese is a tough language, amazing but tough language, and I obviously had to apply for the international one. So we were uh, mostly European, or also someone from Australia, but basically international. But there was also some Chinese. And it was quite interesting, you know, because I went there to work with Chinese, so I did it.
But all the classes were in English, and all your also project mates or classmates were speaking English, right?
Yes, fortunately, yes, because you know when Chinese applied for that course, they have to speak English at least a bit. So they speak in English, and also the courses were all in English, and the guests were speaking in English, or at least were I don't know how to say that, transferred. The Chinese was translated in English.
I see. And how was the approach to architecture in China? Like, because now you have had the sort of background from Italy, Germany, and France. And I'm curious, was the way of working in China very different? Yeah, I'm curious. How was your experience there?
So first, I believe that Italy and France work in a way. We can make this kind of three groups. So Italy, France, Germany. That is another thing, and then obviously China. That is also another thing. China, Chinese stuff tough because they want to always go to a point. You know, they want to make the point of the thing, and actually, it's really different from Italy because we speak a lot, blah blah blah, and piru pari. But in there, they like, okay, at the end of the day, okay, what did we do? Let's make a list. What did we do? And this is the approach, and I like it. It's a bit German actually, but I really like it because you can always make the point. And the design is, everything is big, so the design is big even if it is more on the human scale. Everything is referred to a big thing because China is obviously big, the society is big, a lot of people, a lot of problems, because the sprawl were all together and super fast. So in China you have really a lot of problems to resolve in a in the world of architecture, of urban environment, and in the city in general.
And I can imagine that maybe Chinese are more open to some modern approach or more technological approach. Was there some, because we were talking about designing, how do they design, how which tools they use there? Is it the same? Is it different? How did you feel it?
I didn't feel that there is this kind of gap between us and them in the tools, because at the end they used AutoCAD and things like that. They used the pen, the pencil to draw even, so it's not that different. Maybe there is something changes in the way they renders, but I'm not a render fan, so I don't know that much about this field. The point is that the approach was obviously quite different because they have really completely different problems from us, and they have a way the way they use the public space is totally different from us, and also a bit how they use the private spaces is quite different. And they always try to to a bit copy the Western culture on the approach, but this is really Chinese. This is not, they copy, I understood that they copy not because to steal things, but to make them of themselves, for appropriation. This is something really Chinese that you understand when you live there. This is something that you obviously, okay, Italian, or also other people in Europe on the West side, they think, okay, they copy, I don't know, Gucci bags, things like that, because they wanna just copy them, and and everything should be, copied, and they don't care. It's not that easy. This is something else. This is an approach that coming from a different background. This is a matter of roots of culture. This is not just copying a stupid Gucci bag. And anyway,
And
sorry.
but you mentioned that they use the private space in a different way, and for example, I was also thinking that, for example, we in Europe have this background where we look at the past culture and then we try to get inspiration and sort of reinterpretation in a modern way in our modern project. Or there is, especially in countries like the Northern European countries, like also Germany, but especially the Scandinavian countries, they pay more attention to the human scale, to not build like these huge high rises monsters and stuff like that. What is the approach about, like, which were the difference in this design approach, in this let's say philosophical design approach you learn in China, or you got to know in China?
You're right. I feel that uh, the sprawl, the urban, the real development that they had during the Mao epoch was really huge. I mean, high-rise buildings and high-rise buildings. I don't care about the space between the buildings because I don't care. I need to give a, s- a- an apartment to all the people because this is us. More left side approach, and I like it because at the end in China, a lot of people have an apartment where to live in a good condition, because if you don't live in an apartment in China, you don't live in a good condition because the urbanization is not that well developed in these more houses, lilongs, and traditional settlements. So the, yes, they have problems because this huge sprawl and construction method of I don't care about the public space. I just need to let the people live into an apartment. But now they are approaching the problem as we are doing at the end, because at the end they understood that okay, now I have the flats for the people, but I don't have a public space. I don't have the human scale. I just have huge blocks, 500 meters per 500 meters, and okay, just build, bam, 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 like that. But it's not a good approach. They understood it, so they are going a bit back and forward to try to resolve this kind of problem, to have always uh, an open space that just destroy everything, because if you don't have a good open space and a public space, you have really bad problems in the society life in the big cities. So they are looking to that now.
And what kind of projects did you do there? What kind of work you did at the university?
I did about 9 courses. Obviously, Chinese language. Um then I did some theoretical study about Chinese garden compared to Italian gardens, to Western gardens, sorry. And the projects were mainly two. One was in the Hongkou district. That's actually the place where I developed my project for my thesis, because I knew that, and it was supposed to regenerate this district by not doing that much. It was a bit
And
for urbanism. To let's
how
regenerate
was
this
the
place, but
because now you mentioned Chinese
building a
language
lot.
course. You
Sorry.
mentioned the Chinese language course, the Chinese language class, and I was wondering. I forgot to ask you, when you were applying for this double degree program, did you need a certification in English or, well, of course not Chinese, but did you need any language certification to be part of it?
No, at least yes, but the point is that I already had it, because to enter in Polyme you need to have a B1 certificate, IELTS. I think a 6.0 IELTS at least. So I already had it, because it was also requested to apply to double degree. So I did basically nothing.
Okay. So you covered that thing. And how were people in China? Like, did you manage to have a little bit of small talk, at least with your um, probably not so rich Chinese skills after some time when you studied it? I mean, like characteristics of the people, like their mentality, because you say it's a very different world. So I'm curious, what was your impression, like a part of the whole design part in the university, in general, like your daily life? How was that?
You talking about mentality. This is nice, because I think that uh, the most interesting thing is that they are open. They are open to try everything, and everybody's open to do it. Even if they are even old people, try everything. You see that really old people go around with a smartphone, and this is the mentality. You can see that from this kind of different approach from us, from the European, the Western one. They are like really, I said, they change a lot. Okay, you tell them, okay, you need to do that, and they do it, even if it's not something that they know how to do it. They try to do it, and this is amazing. This is really nice. Or they have a problem, at the end they really try to resolve it with what they have. And this is also a bit Italian. I mean, I actually think that after went there, I went in China and came back, I understood that Italy is not that far away from China, because this kind of approaches. But in the same time, I feel that we are far away from them, because as I told you about the technology, because initially you say, okay, before my grandmother started to use the technology or WhatsApp, I need to push her for, I don't know, years. And this is what changed. They just do it. They are open, way more than us. Obviously, there are some connection, a lot of connection between us and them. I mean, us and them means Chinese and in Italians. But I feel that they're really open. I mean, everything you want to do, they are up to do it, and they try.
And I'm curious, how did they approach you? Because I guess you kind of, uh, pop up in the crowds because you look kind of different than the regular Chinese guys. So, and I think I'm asking this question not because it's just because let's say you go somewhere like in the in the US and or in South America, or I think that the majority of people are still like kind of Caucasian, like kind of, let's say, white race, or majority. Also, in every country in Europe you go, if you go to France and you don't speak, like if the people don't know that you don't know the language, you kind of look like a regular guy. But when you go in some place where really like the vast majority of people, it looks differently. You are like the different one. How do they if they approached you in a different way, or because I've heard a lot of stories of people which, like, for example, they don't have so many blonde people there, so when they see like a blonde person with blue eyes, they start taking pictures or stuff like that. I don't know how was your what is your point of view on that, because you have experienced it yourself.
That's right. The, I experienced two ways, to things. So the one is that they don't care about you, or they look at you and they are like, oh, what is that? Is a human? Is a, I don't know, a UFO or an alien? I don't know. And they are like, okay, I want to go away from him. And the other
Oh, really? I
yes, but not that many people. The majority of the people like stop you in the street and they want to take a picture, or they look at you like, oh my god, it's so beautiful, because you just you are just blonde, and they get crazy for this kind of stuff. And I also have the bird. I mean, Chinese doesn't, and this you are
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah. You were already with the long bird of the wise man when you were in China.
yes, sure. I did for that. It was so fun. But
Yeah, so you
you have
you
to
were a
also,
superstar.
yes, exactly. But it's so fun because I was not. But anyway, you have to consider that it was also a big city. I mean, a big city. It was 26, 28 million people. Shanghai is not that small. And I mean, there is. I mean, Shanghai is more. It's like in New York, because it's a melting pot. I mean, it's Shanghai is made for internationals. Even there are a few people that are coming really from Shanghai. Chinese come there into Shanghai, but they are not Shanghainese, and this makes you be less annoyed by this kind of fact that they stop you on the street, because they are into this kind of melting pot mentality. But when you go away from Shanghai, you go in the countryside, or even in, for example, in the Yellow Mountain. There were a lot of people hiking, and there were a lot stopping me really a lot to take pictures. And if someone stopped me, like 20 people all together went there to take a picture with me all together. It was so fun.
Then you were like, you want an autograph too. But I was thinking you went to Milano, which is like sort of the New York of Italy. Then you were in Frankfurt, which is the New York
Main Atom.
of Manhattan, the New York of Germany. You were to Paris, where Paris French people, they don't have a New York, because French is people like Parisian are the best. That's it. And at least they feel like they're the best. And you went to Shanghai, which is also the economical center of China. So maybe if you go to the US, you need to go to actual New York.
Actually, no, I went to California, but I didn't go to New York yet. I have to go there. That's a must. I
Yeah,
need to collect
such
all
a
the New York of the world.
disaster, because we were planning to go in 2020. We were planning to do like a little US East Coast tour, and then I don't need to say anything else. But we're hoping for 2021. I think more realistically 2022, because
Yes, okay.
this year hopefully we'll get vaccinated, the majority of us, and then when everything is calm again, we can go visit it. And what did
I
you
don't
visit
hear
in
you
China?
anymore.
Like in
I didn't
general in
hear you
Shanghai,
anymore.
what were your highlights? Oh, so yeah, the
I,
connection
yes,
sometimes go down.
yeah.
I'm curious, what did you visit there that was super interesting to you?
In China, you mean? Sure.
Yeah.
Um, Super interesting. Uh, may I say everything? Because it seems stupid when you say everything, because everything is nothing. But I think mm, the city is amazing because you have a lot of different things to do. You have everything to do. You can do anything you want. Obviously, in the terms of to allow the lower things, because Chinese are not that are really strict if you do something that is not allowed. And uh, okay, Shanghai is beautiful, and the river, and the riverside is amazing. It's all restorated, and it's just amazing. You all have to go there because China is a place that you have to go there. And but the countryside is the most full of old old history. Old history is stupid. Let's say just history. And it's full of these kind of small towns and villages full of water, canals, and these old people living in there, and you can really experience what is old China. And old China is something that you have to experience because it's it amazes me. It's something that okay, you just go there, and you seems to you are supposed to go in a weird place with with low quality things because China from a western side, from a western point of view, is just fake. But when you go there, you understand that they have so much culture. That is the fake thing is the not the top of the iceberg. The iceberg is the piece of sand of the iceberg. You have to understand everything in the bottom part, and this is crazy. And it's something that if you go to China, yes, you should go to see the um, Shanghai. Okay, the big cities, yes, fine, but you have also to go to the small places, and also you have to go to the big mountains and the big spaces. That seems to be like in California to the west, and it's crazy because everything is huge.
Yeah, I've never been to China, but I got to know a lot of Chinese people because in every office you go, there are at least some or few here in Germany, and I I've talked to them a little bit, and I think that the general thing is that then for us Western, we need to differentiate a little bit that the Chinese people are not the Chinese government and the Chinese politicians and politics. Because, for example, I really don't like that kind of politics, and because of the whole restrictions, of freedom and but I think this is also because Chinese people have a little bit different mentality than we do, because they don't I don't know if it's because it's so long there is this system, or because there are too many people, or because the country is too big. They don't. From what I've heard from them, they don't question those things. For them, the party, the Chinese Communist Party, and the government, they're like the sun or the moon. You don't, you know, the sun is gonna come up, the moon is gonna come up when it turns night. So they don't question that. So I think that as Westerns, we have to, dialogue more with the Chinese people, and but I don't know. On a political point of view, I think that we need to change a little bit our dialogue with the Chinese government, because they're not so transparent, and also, for example, this is part of the problem here in the pandemic, in my opinion.
Yes, and at the same time, I understand their side because I've been there. Uh, I understand that sometimes they are not that transparent, maybe in the pandemic, but they actually have been transparent, much more than SARS time, at least when they hide everything. But the point is that the government has to the government is use the control concept. The concept of control is the concept how the government is working in China now. Everywhere you go, you have a camera. Camera means how to say, a camera that registers you where you go, everything. They know where you go.
But
They know.
even in your apartment, like if you're in your apartment, yeah, no.
No, in the private space, no. But maybe in the elevator. So okay, you go there and you push your 15th, I don't know, button, and they know that you're going there. So and then they know your face, they know everything, and this is a bit, not that nice. It's a restriction. It's the privacy is not a concept that they have. But when you are like 1,600,000,000 million, it's
Yeah,
just
billion.
it's tough to say. Okay, no, you don't have to control people, or you don't have to do like that, because okay, if you don't do that, what you can do? Okay, Chinese, amazing people. Okay, but obviously in almost 2 billion people, you have to understand that in there you can find someone who's not that nice or a bad person, obviously. And with this, they just control everybody, control anything. And the point is that the control itself is not a bad thing from my point of view. I could also have it in Italy. I don't care if you put a lot of cameras everywhere. That's fine for me, because it's more safe. China is the safest place ever. You can go around with your money in your head, just with closed eyes. They don't know sell you. The point is that what they do with your data is a problem. It's a big problem, because they use the data that we collect to for commercial purposes. So you are not anymore freedom to buy what you want to really buy, to do what you really want to do in that sense. Not that the control itself is a problem, but how they use the data, the personal data, is really problematic from my point of view. I'm up to pay obviously with WeChat. I did it because it's really nice. In the same time, I feel that they give me all the ads in my phone because I paid there, or things like that. Something that is happening also in Italy. We have to be really aware of that.
Yeah, but I mean, this kind of purpose of data is used also from all the Western tech giants, like Google,
Not
Facebook,
like that.
Amazon. Uh, I think that, for example, I'm not using anymore Facebook because it's just feels junky. Like you go in and you just, or also all the cookies. You go on some website and then all your devices, like your phone, your iPad, your everything, starts showing you. For example, we were looking for a mattress. Now all our devices, whenever you go, it's full with mattresses, and that's feels creepy. And but a part of that, I think that you said yeah, it's safe, but in the meanwhile, the most you trade, the most privacy you trade for safety, then you also trade of your freedom,
True.
because
That's
uh,
they
you
know.
know
Yes, they. Sorry, they know in the Western side, they know a bit of us and they use it for commercial purposes. In China, they know everything and they use for commercial purposes. This is the change.
I see that there is no wrong and right in this sort of
Okay.
relationship with China, but I think that because I've discussed a little bit with some Chinese people, and like they have another concept of freedom. As you said, they don't consider like politics as a topic in their daily life, and the only
Sure.
thing they're focused on is on making their own life a little bit better. And they're happy because back in the 90s the life there was way harder, and now it's way more developed. And in the meanwhile, the Western companies, they don't have any consideration of the consequences on the political, economical level. They focus only on profit. So they take advantage of this, Chinese system of production. And because I've talked to, Dan Black, I think was in podcast number 16, they make very cool design boxes, lunch boxes, and bottles. And he told me we cannot do this stuff in Europe because I don't think there are factories in Europe anymore that do these things. We can only do it in China. And also in the podcast 31, I talked to this guy, Benny Mandas. They are a startup in Mainz, and they collect plastic in the oceans and they recycle it. They do that in Asia, and then they recycle the plastic in China, make the backpacks, and then ship them all over.
It's
And because they cannot do that here because there is no anymore production, because all the companies decided to move their production to China, and they don't want to produce stuff. And this is why we had the problem when the pandemic started, that all the production of masks was in China. So if China doesn't ship us the mask, we're fucked up.
true.
So I don't say that China is part of the problem, but we're like giving power to because our companies are only greedy and they want to make profit no matter what.
Exactly, but
So
you can consider China and actually the eastern side of the world, and also especially at least China and Vietnam, the factory of the western side, as you tell. China is the factory of the world. That's it. Finished. This is a problem. This is something that we have to change. First, because we have to ship everything 4 times. Because if you do something here, then you have to ship there, and then you have to ship again here. This is too much. We have to maybe to get a bit more into in 0 kilometer production method. Even if we open maybe small factories, things like that, it's also a matter of work. Okay, there is a low paid how to say mano d'opera, a low
yeah, like
paid.
work power, like the work power, the wages of the people are low.
Really low. That's why they just ship there and they build the things there, and they used to use China as a factory.
Well, no, yeah, I think that this problem needs to be solved on a political level,
Sure.
because the Western companies will never say, okay, we want to do less profit because we don't want to ship stuff from China and pollute the world, because they care only about money. So I think that somehow the governments, if they have, if they're not corrupt, and if they're not like only also taking care of lobbyists and money, should regulate that and say, okay, you cannot do that, you have to do that here, and you have to pay people in a proper way. And I think that also we on a singular level, we are not really aware. Like, for example, we buy all the things we buy, but we don't care if behind the whole production, there were people in bad working in bad condition. We don't a lot of the people who talk nice things about these things, I say we need to do more, but then actually have an iPhone who was made in a factory in China, where they need to put bigger and bigger sort of networks to because people are jumping off the building, so they put like protections. So it's crazy, and I think that
Yes, education is needed. That's it.
and dialogue to as you did to go to China and see yourself.
Yeah.
I think that the best way to get rid of ignorance. But for example, when the pandemic started, on the other hand, I think also we have here in the West now this extreme political correctness, because everywhere, not only mainly in Italy and also in the US, when they decided to close the flights with China, politicians were like, "This is racism," and we are going to eat at Chinese restaurants or stuff like that. And I think this is so stupid, man. Like this is a different problem here. It's not about. There was ignorant people in Italy. Also, I heard a lot of people that were insulting Chinese in the beginning of the pandemic. And then, as always happens, karma is a bitch. In Italy, was the next.
Why come exactly? God. Yeah, this is true.
And how did you manage to come back? That's the interesting part also of the story.
You touched it. I came back after, let's say, 2 3 weeks after the start of the pandemic, and I came back through from a Russian company, and I did Shanghai, Russia, and then from Russia, but I think Moscow was Moscow to Rome. It was 18 hours flight. It was pretty, I detested it because I also wear the mask all the time. 18 hours with the mask. It's just really bad thing. But then before to take this flight, I booked another flight, a Qatar flight, but the flight just was delayed 6 hours before the takeoff of the plane, and I was like, okay, I have to find something else then.
Did you take with you a bunch of masks on the way back from China to resell here?
Many no, because the point is that anybody when I came back in here, everybody were like, okay, yes, there is the pandemic in China, but it's in China. And after 1 month, everything just bang, just collapsed. Everything collapsed, and it wasn't anymore in China. It was everywhere. But I
Yeah.
mean, I lived it all the phases of the pandemic because I was there closer into my house in China, and then I came back to Italy and I did 15 days quarantine because you don't know, so I just closed myself into my house for people respect, and but then I know COVID was already between us, and my effort was basically nothing, not helpful at least, and then I did like 15 days as a normal person, and then they closed Italy. They just like closed everything, and it was again like China.
But when you were in China the last days, it was already a full lockdown there, or?
It was there was a lockdown, full lockdown. I don't know what is a full lockdown. I mean, you were allowed to go out, but you were allowed to go with you had to go with a mask, and but I didn't go that much around because everything was closed. The only thing that were open were the supermarkets, and that's it. Finish. Nothing more.
I see. And so now, what's the plan? When are you going to complete your? So you're now finishing your Chinese degree, like master degree presentation, and your Italian one. When you gonna be finished with everything?
So with everything, I hope I will be in grade to finish on April. Yeah, I guess end of April I will discuss my Italian thesis, and I will be done with the academic path.
And what is your plan for the future? Do you have anything in your mind for afterwards?
Yes, I have actually planned to go in Germany to work, because Germany, I mean, I like it pretty much because I discovered also a company, GMP, by the AAC workshop, the Academy for Architecture Culture. That I said that is from GMP. GMP is Von Gerck and Mager and Partners. It is a company, it's a huge company also, that has offices in China. And I did this what to say,
Workshop.
yeah, exactly, the workshop, and in Hamburg, and there I discovered this nice, really nice working environment, and a way to develop myself into the side of into the topic of architecture, and so on. So from myself, maybe Germany is a nice way to start.
And how was that workshop? I forgot to ask you because we were talking about all these topics. How did you? What did you do there? What was it?
I suggest you all apply for the workshop, because it's so nice. It's amazing. It's a 1 month workshop, 4 weeks actually workshop, and you there work basically. The first week you go into the site for sightseeing, and you understand a bit the place and so on. You do sketches, and you understand. You meet people, the tutors, and so on. And then the other 2 weeks you go back in Hamburg, and you work in the development in a group, in this kind of project, a given project. We worked for a project for for kind of a campus uh, in Landesbuch, that is actually in the south of Germany. So we went there, we stayed there in a beautiful place, and then we came back to Hamburg, and we developed our project. And we had also, meeting with really nice and good architects like Inaware or Vector and Vector. That also, yes, they did a presentation of their work, but they also commented our work in progress. It is quite nice. And
What did
also
you design? What did you design in this workshop?
a campus for Landesburg campus. This was a huge campus. Everything was there. Was requested. Was The place was in a hilly, in a hill, on the top of the hill, and they needed a place to work for with the cattle, for example. Also to develop agricultural side, and then the other side was more for art and culture. And yes, there was also like a art exhibition center, performance hall, like apartments, a canteen, a lot of things. It was pretty huge project, but it was also really nice because the environment and the context to keep and to understand and to talk with.
And the team was international then.
The team was mainly German, because this workshop is known between German and not that much internationally known, and was the only Italian. I guess I don't know if I was the only Italian in the history of this workshop, but it seems yes. It was quite nice anyway. It was, I mean, German was super welcoming, and I enjoyed pretty much. It was really well organized, and nothing more to ask to that workshop, really.
I can tell you that you're probably not, because I had on my podcast Alessandro Cavaretta is my friend here, and he worked with me here, and his girlfriend is German, and he went to this workshop at GMP
Oh, really
uh,
nice. I didn't.
years ago.
Hmm.
So he also studied at Politecnico di Milano, and he went there because he likes stadiums, and GMP does a lot of stadiums. So
Totally.
This was, but then he ended up in Frankfurt. So you never know. Maybe you will come back to Frankfurt at one point.
Maybe yes, why not?
Yeah, so I wish you a lot of luck. I think you are on a good path. I work with you. You're a very, disciplined guy, very passionate about architecture. Also very fun to work with.
Thank you.
And we had great time here in Frankfurt when you were here. I see that you have developed yourself further on your um, architectural career, academical career, international level. And thank you very much for accepting my invitation and participating in my podcast.
Thank you very much, Georgi. I'm really happy to have been
Yeah.
here.
And all the social media we were mentioned in the podcast, I'm gonna link them in the description, so
Yes, for
that
sure. It would be helpful.
I will. We can shout out here that if there are any listeners from architectural companies, they can contact you, and soon you're on the market, so they can acquire your services. And for the rest of the audience, as always, I say the podcast is for free, so you can support it by following our social media channels, which are at TCI Podcast, and on Facebook and LinkedIn, the Creative Insider. And if you haven't missed the special edition 2020 recap, now we are also building an official The Creative Insider website, which is going to be a hub for creatives. And to stay up to date, you can go on the creativeinsider.com. This will be also in the description, and subscribe our newsletter for all the news about that. So yeah, so thank you very much one more time, Federico, and we'll see each other hopefully in person very soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope so. See you soon.
Bye bye.